Death is the unyielding truth that binds us all, an inevitable, profound, and deeply intimate encounter with the finite nature of life. It arrives without warning, shattering the world we thought we knew. In its wake, grief emerges, often dismissed as something to fix or get over. But what if grief, in its suffocating pain, is not a burden to carry or something from which we need to move on? What if grief is instead a sacred invitation, an opening to feel more deeply, to connect in unimaginable ways, and to transform all that we knew to be true? I'm Laura Walton, and I'm so grateful you're here. Together, let's step into the uncharted terrain of death and grief, not as something to fear or avoid, but as a force that shapes us, breaks us, and ultimately remakes us. Let's meet it not with resistance, but with curiosity and courage. And let's do this on purpose. All right, welcome back to another episode of Grief on Purpose, the podcast. Today, we are doing things a little bit differently and meeting with two people at once. So a joint interview here with Jen Miles Williams and Moshé Williams. Thank you guys both for being here.
It's our honor.
Pleasure. Yes. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. And you two are recently married. Is that right?
6 months in.
Yeah. We got married December 5th of last year.
Met each other 2 years ago this month.
In June, yeah, of 23.
Okay. Well, happy meeting anniversary sometime this month. And congratulations on the relatively recent wedding.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Jen, I know you and have known you for quite a long time. Moshé, I just met you about a month ago briefly in a parking lot. So Jen, I'd love to, from whatever you remember, whatever your perspective is of how we know each other, if you could just share a little bit of that would be great.
Yeah. We met at One Yoga, working in the boutique and managing classes and the flow of everything. And I just always liked you.
Oh, thank you.
I always did. I don't know. I mean, I always just felt very comfortable and at ease with you. And it makes sense that this is the career path that you have chosen, is being a receiver of all of the different people that share their lives with you. So so we met, I want to say it was probably like around 2006 or 2000, something like that, or 2009, something around that time. So
yeah, I was going to guess 2006, maybe 7, but yeah, sometime right in there, early days when At One Yoga existed in Phoenix, which it does not exist anymore. But yeah, we worked together at the front desk for a while.
That's right.
And for the record, I really liked you too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. And then we've, that was a long time ago, but we've stayed friends on social media over the years, but only really been very recently that we've kind of reconnected and restarted a conversation between us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I've just been a big fan of everything that you've been posting and the work you're doing, and it's very necessary. So I'm happy to be a part of this process.
Yeah. Thank you guys both for being here. Are you guys okay with each of you just sharing a little bit about who you are and what your life these days, what you do with your life, what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. You want to go first?
Sure. Well, as you said, I'm Moshé Williams, and I'm kind of a lot of things. I've been a lot of things. I think I've done a lot of things because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did it all.
Yeah.
Started out going to med school, chiropractic school in California, and then I went to school in Oregon at Oregon State University, became a horticulturist and biochemical engineer. Then I was a freedom fighter for cannabis and helped get that foundation of cannabis and legalization here in Arizona, and ended up getting a dispensary. So I was a dispensary owner, and I recently sold last year my dispensary, and now but in the meanwhile, since probably 2010 or 11, I linked arms with Dr. Sue Sicily, who works and owns the Scottsdale Research Institute, which does psychedelic studies for all different purposes, but anything from we have the peyote that we do for the indigenous churches, and then we do all the way to growing psilocybin mushrooms for your body for the government. And so it's been fun little career, and that's kind of currently what I'm doing. And I'm working on putting together and the real first psychedelic psilocybin church here
People.
in Arizona. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a temple, not a church. Just
Temple.
to be
Okay.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me. As I think you were just a little tidbit, that's a world that I've been getting into a little bit. So that work that you're doing, I think is really cool to be involved in.
Thank you. It's
Yeah,
very rewarding. It's been very challenging too. So
I bet.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so many there. I can imagine a lot of challenges. I'm sure there's even way more than that, than what I can imagine.
It's a lot. We're
Yeah.
doing it, and we're going to continue to hopefully push forward and have great success. And we just got the approval for psilocybin studies on humans, and excited to get kicked that off real soon.
Yeah, that's so exciting. What is the role that you play within the Research Institute? What do you do there?
So I've done quite a bit of things because I've been from almost day one, but I've done from growing their cannabis to cultivating their mushrooms and then doing the biochemical stuff.
Mm.
Now I'm being trained to do what's called session monitoring, where we'll kind of like a therapist or clinician that will be able to dose the patients that come in and sit with them for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So I just got through with a 15-hour training, and then I'm going to be going through probably another 50 hours of training to complete that. And then hopefully by November, everybody's going to be ready to start doing this trial studies. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. There's a lot there on the horizon that I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right, Jen, and who are you?
Well, I am in a whole rediscovery phase of my life right now. Jen, at the beginning of the year, owned a creative marketing and branding agency called Plant Body Soul. And I think we were in like year 5, and we closed the business at the end of February. We were creative marketing and branding, specifically working with cannabis brands, psychedelic brands. And that's actually how we met, is in the cannabis industry. I interviewed him on a podcast because
Oh,
I also had a podcast, the Plant Body Soul podcast, and we were guest hosting at the Marijuana Industry Trade Association. And he was sitting to my left, and my other client was sitting to my right. And they were surprised I didn't know who this man was. Anyway,
And now we're doing a podcast again in the month of how we met.
and the month of June, how we met. So
yeah, it's meant to be.
indeed. So I also, aside from Plant Body Soul, I have had a long history and career in yoga and meditation. I also owned a company called Canacula, which brought cannabis education and resources to people that needed it, but also giving people access to very helpful tools to help integrate their experiences like yoga and meditation and sound, therapeutic sound. I also closed that in March. I'm taking a big step away from my past trajectory in cannabis. It's a very hard industry. Most people who are in cannabis will understand when I say that it is so difficult, especially here in Arizona with limited licenses. We have 160 licenses here in the state, and it's just really challenging for small businesses to survive, small brands to survive, and therefore ancillary services like marketing. So I am in a big transition, but it seems very natural that I'm transitioning into working on the temple. It's called the Temple of Remembering. And this is our psychedelic mushroom temple, working now to develop that brand and create some community around it. And then, around all of that, I've been teaching in yoga and meditation to various communities. I've worked with a lot of veterans and post-traumatic stress. I've worked with athletes, a lot of MMA fighters, actually. They have a lot of similar conditions to people that are fighting in terms of the armed forces. Both have a lot of hypervigilance and have a hard time getting their nervous systems to calm down. So that was a really fun sweet spot for a while. And yeah, I would say that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I know it's such a hard question to answer. Who are you? What do you do even? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, when did you start practicing yoga? Because it's been a long time.
I mean, I would say that I've been practicing yoga probably for like 30 years.
Okay.
So, and maybe even longer. I mean, yoga was part of the curriculum that I studied when I was a ballet dancer. So it was like classical ballet and then character and flamenco and Pilates and yoga. And it was a very well-rounded class or sorry, experience. But it really didn't it really only touched one limb of yoga, and that's the asana, which is the shapes that we make with our body, right? So
Mhm.
I really used it as a method for me to continue to promote flexibility in my body. I knew I felt better after I took yoga. So making that like connection later in life when I was really struggling with some health issues was really important and a pivotal moment for me. And that's when I wanted to start teaching. And it was after I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 21. It's a hereditary genetic condition that runs rampant in Ashkenazi Jews. And my grandmother on my paternal side died from complications and so on and so forth. So when my mother was very sick with brain cancer, I was very stressed, obviously, and I didn't vocalize what was happening with my body. And so it got out of control. And over the years, I got it into remission in a natural way. When it came out of remission in 2015, I was so sick, I couldn't work I was homebound for about a year. I was trying to figure out what was the next step. And I knew that it involved yoga. And so at that point, that's when I enrolled myself into a teacher training program. And I also sat in an ayahuasca ceremony. And that's the next day is when when I got back from this 3-day journey, the next day I enrolled in yoga teacher training program. And that was when Kanakula came to my mind. I birthed the cannabis community, the cannabis yoga community. And then yoga has evolved over the years for me in so many ways. So
Mhm.
the yoga I teach now and practice now is totally different than when we were, young, or when I knew you at One Yoga, where it was very much about the vinyasa and it was more athletic. Now yoga meets me where my body's at, and that's what I teach.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Moshe, do you have any yoga experience or background?
Yes, but I'm not near a professional. I've never
Oh,
gone
that's
to
okay.
any TTY or TYYCC.
YTT.
YTT?
There
Yeah.
you go. I knew it was
Mhm.
something. However, my rabbi, my rav in Israel likes to study with every morning. He would get on me to do yoga so I can meditate better and be flexible and sit there without
Mhm.
hurting myself. And so serendipitously, I went to one of Jennifer's classes after we met on the podcast. And so now I'm married to a yogini and I'm doing yoga and stuff. So just through little gentle nudges, and it's definitely a life changer for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a little bit of experience, it sounds like, with the asana, the physical
Correct.
poses, right? If I didn't say the 8 limbs, do you know what that means? Do you have any
I
experience with that
do,
word?
and I do feel like the asanas, the soma noma nidra that she nidras and
it's yoga nidra, and
Yoga. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
teach a somatic yoga
yeah,
nidra. So
yeah, it's a mouthful for me for some reason every time I say
Yeah.
it. Yeah, and so like the breathing,
Yeah.
I forget the words, but yeah, I know the 8 limbs and
Okay.
practices.
pranayama.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Pranayama. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
pranayama.
Just curious what your regular familiarity with yoga
I'm a
is.
student. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're all students in some
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, a month or two ago, Jen, we got together for coffee and for actually a totally separate reason than this podcast. But through that, it came up that this was the project that I was working on this book also that is talking about yoga and grief. And I do, Jen, and don't ask me why I remember this, but I do remember when we worked at One Yoga, you talking about your mom and your mom's death. And that has just always stayed with me as part of the way that I remember you for whatever that reason is. And so I think I somehow mentioned that and, said, if you want to be a part of this project, that'd be great. And you were interested and you pulled Moshé in to be interested too. So I'm curious as to, for both of you, why this particular project was interesting to you.
I've had a lot of loss, some deep, close loss in my life. Lost my wife, my late wife, my first wife, about 7 years ago. And being able to just sit with it and work through my body's tensions and getting rid of all this negative stuff that my body was holding on to. And I'm talking physical. It manifested a lot of physical things to me, especially my shoulders and arms area, my neck. I just couldn't really put it together, and it helped with the healing, helped with the meditation, helped with my, I guess, being more aware, being more present, being more mindful. Mindfulness, I don't think I was something that I ever really practiced, not intentionally, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga brought that into my practice and helped with the healing process. It still helps with the healing process.
Yeah. Yeah. How does mindfulness for you? How does that help with your grief and healing through your grief?
Well, at first, I think mindfulness brought me awareness of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of hard at first because it brought the awareness that I'm the problem, like how I'm reacting or how I'm feeling about any situation. And this particular one, I felt like I had a loss, right? It had happened to me, and that I had just, it was a victim mentality. And then I was sitting with it, being able to be mindful. And instead of running away from what happened or what's going on in my life, I was able to actually, I guess, approach it with love and kindness and give myself a little more love and kindness. So it started off horrible, to be honest, because then when you have that awareness, you go through a little bit of a depression of, man, I did so many things maybe wrong. And then you learn to love yourself. And then you learn to forgive yourself. And I'm in those stages still, learning to love myself, learning to forgive myself. And it helps you just realize that once you switch that mindset of I'm not a victim anymore, light starts shining into your light again. And
Mm-hmm.
so the mindfulness has been just huge, just awareness of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge practice in my experience too, is especially in grief and just learning how to understand how the stories we're telling ourselves about what happened. Yeah. How did you start that practice in your grief? What led you to even discover that as an option?
I think that I was at my finally rock bottom. Yeah. I think I finally hit rock bottom. I was in an unhealthy relationship, realized it, and had to ask her to move out.
Mm-hmm.
In that process, I was trying to be, because I was told all sorts of things about how bad I was, and all sorts of things of just, I don't know, it was just very bad relationship, very verbally abusive towards who I am and what I do and the type of person I am. And it was just a lot, and I believed it. So I hit rock bottom, and just for some reason it clicked that I'm gonna just start working on myself. So every morning I would get up and I would go outside and I would try to stretch and do something, and then I would try to meditate. And I think that's the truth, is that hitting rock bottom is what really got me there. I didn't have much more, I didn't have any other options other than
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. What do you think it was that kept you committed to the practice, even when that at the initially it kind of sucked? Maybe made things feel worse.
Well, because I did see that something was changing.
Okay.
I did see that even though it hurt and it sucked, that I was getting somewhere. A
Mm-hmm.
physical change in my whole body. I was able to start moving again. my mental health was more clear, even though it was so clear that I knew I'm the problem. And that's the type of clarity you do need to heal, because if you're
Mhm.
unaware that you're hurting yourself by simple thoughts, or you're unaware of how you hurt yourself in just the way you think and react towards others, you really should come to that awareness. If you were going through what I'm going through, you need to go through that awareness to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have an example, something you're willing to share of how you were the problem?
Yeah. So a lot of the times I'm very sensitive, or I'm very reactive towards needing something from somebody, but not being able to ask for it or do any of those things, but expect them to know, or expect something to happen and have a reaction towards why did they hate me, or they don't love me anymore because they don't do this for me. And that's one of those things that was a trigger. Or possibly when the kids would come home, or I would see something out of order, my reaction was quick and get this and put this, I was more direct, not realizing that that also doesn't make them feel great. Even though I wasn't like cursing and screaming, I don't beat them or not, but it was enough for me to not have them even hear me. That's my
Mhm.
tone of voice was stern, and it was a strong, you get it done type of it wasn't until Jen brought that to my awareness, saying, "Hey, I noticed that you get real quick with the kids if something's off or something, and I don't know if they're listening once they feel your energy like that."
Mm.
I go, "Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that." Because that's just how I have been, just
Yeah.
so tensed up, and something's out of place or something, and it just triggers me. And then you realize, put yourself as a pause. And that's the other point, right? It allows you to think, be mindful, and pause, go, oh, okay, it's out of place. It does need to get cleaned up, but you can do it like this. Hey, when you get a chance, I would like for you to be able to clean this up. You can tell that it's a mess.
Yeah. Got a better outcome maybe from that?
It was 180 degrees. The
Yeah.
relationship and trust from my kids healed overnight
Mhm.
because of just simple how you talk to them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
still
Yes.
working on it. It's a
Of
day.
course. Yeah, it's a practice, but building that awareness, it sounds like that's what happened. You could see what you were doing. You could see how you were showing up in
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that again, when you realize that's where it gets painful, and then I want to be a victim again and start
Yeah.
playing and being like a weird narcissist of my feelings, and but going, no, I don't need to sit with that. I'm going to be better than that. I'm going to do
Hmm.
that, and then it gets better.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I want to create the opportunity right here for you to share whatever you want to share. And if it's nothing, that's okay. But about your wife who died, her name, what happened, when it happened, whatever it is you want to share.
All right. Well, I might get emotional.
That's okay.
Hmm. Can you give me a napkin?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Then I will get started on it. But we met in high school.
Mhm.
She was a tough cookie to crack, or whatever that comment would be.
Mhm.
She became just a best friend. We dated a couple times, but she just didn't ever trust a man or trust whatever it was. I didn't understand what was going on.
Mhm.
But we reconnected. She graduated from college real quickly. She was very smart, and invited me again to her graduation. And then I used to teach gymnastics and taught her younger sister gymnastics. So we kind of reconnected. And now she was ready to date me. And so we ended up dating and getting married. We had a lot of great successes, and we've had a lot of failures together, which helped bind our who we were together. We had two beautiful little boys, and she really helped push me in a direction to become me. She believed in me. And so she was kind of a solid figure in my life and in the kids' lives. But she had remembered some trauma that had happened to her when she was a child. Some family trauma, and I'll just leave it there.
Mhm.
But it was so devastating to her that she went into a downward spiral so quick that I didn't even understand what was going on. I was about 35 years old and it happened. And so I didn't have any of the experience to really help her other than try to send her to doctors. And that didn't happen. She didn't want to be like her younger sister who was on meds and non-functional. So she says, I'm not going to turn out like my sister. It got to a point where it was just too much for her to handle within a period of months. She went down and ended up taking her own life. There's a lot of trauma in me being the one that had found her. That's the hard part I still deal with,
Yeah.
but it's not near as bad as it was in progress. I see huge progress in accepting that it wasn't and being grateful that I was the one, that had found her, being grateful for these hard lessons to learn. There's a lot of miracles that have come out of it, Jen being one in my life. But yeah, I'm just at a state of gratitude at this point. And yeah.
Yeah. Would you ever have believed you could say that?
I don't think so. At some points in my life, it was just I almost felt like I wanted to be and join her and do the same. There's
Right.
had plenty
Yeah.
of moments. Never tried to articulate that or never tried to act on it, or which mindfulness or meditation helps with clearing these thoughts and clearing
Mhm.
I am not worthy or I'm not good enough or trying to just understand why that happened or in the meanwhile raising two boys that I was blessed to raise. Um,
Mhm.
and I think I got so close to them, probably closer than I probably would have without this happening. So I'm seeing blessings and you got to count these blessings, whether you would have traded those blessings in for it not, there's still got to be positive things that come from these. There's growth, right? If we're not in pain, we're really just comfortable and we're not growing.
Do you want to share her name?
Yeah, her name was Shauna Williams, Shauna Frola Williams. She was just a real smart, very strong-willed woman.
Yeah.
We created an amazing life for her as long as she gave me one with her, and two beautiful boys that I'm honored to have as my own.
hmm How old were the boys when she died?
11 and just barely had almost 30. No, yeah, just 11 and 12.
11. Okay.
And they did, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And did you say that was 7 years ago that she died?
7 years ago, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Now they're adults.
Yeah, they're getting up there. So I'm curious between the two of you, at what point, Moshe, did you share this story, your experience with Jen?
Pretty soon into it, I think on our first real meeting together, because I didn't know, because we weren't dating, we were friends, and she was very easy to talk to, and she asked about my past and broke down and cried in front of her our first time meeting, I guess. So,
Yeah.
there was, yeah, I guess we went to eat.
We went to dinner to talk about what he was doing, with all of the psychedelics, and we knew we wanted
Mhm.
to connect professionally. I wanted to work with him and using my skills and combining skills and yeah, it was that first meeting, that first dinner meeting. He was in tears probably about 20 minutes in. So I like to joke with him.
Same with this meeting too, but I'm not always like that, only when it's,
Being a little
yeah,
bit.
topics.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
I'm
okay.
sensitive though. I am sensitive, but I'm not like always just moping and running around. Like,
Yeah. Well, we don't have that impression of you.
that's
It's okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
I personally find it really nice when a
Mhm.
man can express emotion and
Yeah.
grief, because
Yeah.
not it's not that common, and I feel like society and family conditioning often present in a way that's, oh, I've got to keep it all in, I can't cry, I can't show, express all of that, and that makes me,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm grateful that he's able to tap into that.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And that kind of leads into what I was going to ask you anyway, is what was that like for you, Jen, to hear this from him and then to go at some point go into this relationship with somebody who had this as a part of their story?
I was really, well, I mean, I was really touched that he felt safe enough with me to share that secret. Not that I think he kept it a secret, but when you're just getting to meet someone, that's not often what
Don't lead with that.
right,
Yeah.
often what comes out in a meeting, but we both
A
felt
dump on my first meeting.
we both felt a deeper connection that obviously resulted in us getting married. So,
Yeah.
but I also find myself a safe space for a lot of people, just given the nature of what I do with yoga and meditation and working with clients in the past. And so it just kind of, I felt like I dropped right into like just listening and being present for him. And then as our relationship started to unfold, we continued to stay friends for some months until October 9th is when we officially dated. It was 2 days after October 7th of 2023, which for us as Jewish people was a very traumatic day. And so I'll explain more about my grief in that moment. But the way that he was able to just kind of breathe, let go, share with me about what happened. And then as we started to get to know each other, we started dating. He trusted me with more of the details of surrounding Shauna's death, a lot of the details and how he's been holding some family secrets for a long time. And that alone has been very, very hard for him. I didn't have any sort of feeling of, oh, I don't want to do this, or this is making me uncomfortable, or feeling like I don't want to know too much. I didn't ever have those feelings. I always felt, okay, I hear you. How can I be here to help? And I really was, for Moshe, was just listening and witnessing him in his moments of grief or sharing. And with the kids, I'm a new person in their lives, and they were adults when I came into the picture. When I came into the picture, they were
19 and 18.
17 and 18, right?
Yeah, close to 19, yeah.
Yeah.
19, just barely 19.
Yeah. And so they're adults, and young adults, but they have.
I've already ruined them by this point. They already got their mind set on things. They love Jen from get-go.
Yeah.
I really just showed up wanting to be their friend. They have a mother. She will always be their mother. And I did not want to come in and try to replace or erase that memory of her. Being someone that lost their mother at a young age, I was 21, my brother was 17. I was also just so grief stricken, and my brother was spiraling, into his own grief. And I already knew that I didn't want to do, or how I didn't want to show up with them. Because when my dad started dating someone 3 months after my mom died, it was very traumatic for us, my brother and I. And over time, how we felt. My dad was very present with work but he was then not present for us. And I think everybody in our family has a different idea of how that went down. But my brother and I are pretty much on the same page. As parents and children's memories are definitely different.
Right.
Each child, sometimes their memories vary in each family experience, but I think we're on the same page with that. I felt also that this would be an opportunity for some redemption in some way. Like, I could be here, be their friend, listen when they needed to, be here for Moshe.
Help me with observing with my own action and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that when he mentioned that comment about, helping him like rephrase how he was giving critique to his children or asking for things, it actually comes from yoga. When you're teaching a class and when you're cueing a pose or posture, not everyone is going to understand the cueing that you're talking to about, turn the right toes towards the front edge of the mat, bend into the front knee, raise your back, whatever you're cueing anatomically. Sometimes people don't hear those cue phrases. So you have to as you're observing the room and seeing who's not hearing you or understanding because they're not taking the verbal cue, you have to rephrase the cueing in a totally different way so that they can understand you. And so that's what I pulled out of my little yoga toolbox when he was having a hard time with saying what he needed to say and nobody was hearing him.
Yeah.
Is because you just need to rephrase it a different way, turn the energy a bit differently. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I like that. Yeah. You have to be paying attention to see how it lands if they're getting it. Yeah.
And as an outsider who stepped into their world, their home, their family dynamics, it was easier for me to be able to see it from the eagle eye perspective, what was happening. So, it's been an ever evolving process of getting more clear with what he needs from his kids and what we need from each other. It's been an ever evolving process, but I know that I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem. Thank God.
Yeah. And Jen, what's your grief story?
I've had some grief stories over the years. The biggest turning point in my life for me was the death of my mom. And I had a lot of grief around that time because I felt like I didn't get a chance to make up my challenging childhood years. I was a teenager with an eating disorder. I was a ballet dancer. I had a lot of sort of internal turmoil that I know took a lot of my mother's and my father, like, mental capacity and patience.
A couple toads that scared your parents.
Definitely brought home some toads that scared my parents, all those things. That's what we do as young people.
Girls, yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of my grief was regret around not being able to show my mother that I was going to be okay or turn out okay. And that was one piece of it. The other piece was a lot of grief. I felt abandoned by my dad and my brother. Like I mentioned, my brother was spiraling in his own grief. He ended up becoming addicted to drugs and went to prison for 7 years. He was a young boy. I think he was 19 when he was sentenced to state prison. And then my dad was dating a friend of my mother and of the family really quickly right after she died, and wasn't really present in the home. And so I felt really by myself for a long time. I didn't have any other family members that lived here, and I was self-medicating my grief with drugs and alcohol pretty early on. I had outlets, healthy outlets like dance and my dance community, and of course, some yoga, but a lot of that anger and grief, all the stages of grief were really bubbling inside for a long time. The grief, I would say, the grief and the anger manifested into colitis, the digestive disease that I was diagnosed with at 21. And it was always a process of trying to get the inflammation down, getting myself into a place of remission where I wasn't bleeding internally. And whenever I was in those spaces of flare or sickness, I was very, very grief-stricken. It's so painful to be in the bathroom 190 times a day or to leave the bath. You can't leave the bathroom floor, or the bathtub. You start to bargain. I don't know how long I can do this. I don't know if I can keep hanging on. And that has been, this has been the cycle for me. I've been really fortunate that I've been able to keep my remission for long periods of time with yoga and meditation and spiritual connection. The spiritual connection, again, like I mentioned, was really the piece that came in around 2015 after my relapse. And I was working in foster care for a little bit right out of college. I got a degree in communication studies and event management, and that was a very hard career. Foster care is brutal. And so understanding that the pieces for me to be able to like cope with all of this, I need to be able to do something that makes me happy and that brings me joy. I need to be able to feel safe and secure. And I need to be soft and gentle and calm with myself. And I really used yoga to help me get through these challenging times. I came out of remission again last summer, so 1 year ago in June. I was actually, yeah, June 4th. I think it was Memorial Day weekend. I did my last Walter Yoga before the summer. I produced Walter Yoga at the Walter Warehouse. I made it to Walter Yoga and I was so inflamed. I was so sick and I went down for the count. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. And I was in the bathtub again, like all day and just begging God, I can't do this anymore. If this is how it is going to be, I don't know if I can do it anymore. So just with lots of yoga nidra, guided sleep-based meditation, lots of meditation, and a supportive husband telling me that I was going to be okay and that we have to keep fighting, keep going, I was able to make it out and through. So
Yeah. What's your mom's name?
my mom's name was Jeannot.
Jono. How do you spell that?
Jeannot. It's a
Oh,
French name, and it
okay.
means Little John,
Oh,
a boy's name, but yeah,
that's
Jeannot.
cute. I like
Yeah.
it. It's pretty.
Little John.
Yeah.
Little John.
Little
Yeah.
John.
So it sounds like you directly link the colitis to your grief. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grief and anger, anger is a result of grief.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear, I've noticed fear. She was in a very flight or fight stage of that moment of her life. She just also got engaged and in this relationship, and it just went, whoa,
Yeah.
everything just released.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was very challenging for me to manage all of the things that were happening with the business in terms of the industry and cannabis and how volatile everything was and having, 10 employees with livelihoods that I had to worry about. My business partner also, we were both very stressed
She had it all on her shoulders.
Yeah.
and that in combination with, yeah, I think a lot of, I also want to say, I don't want to, I'm not like blaming, but I was in a household with a family that was also still very much grieving their own loss of their mother and late wife. And this last year, or the last year that I got sick, there was a lot of things that were starting to come to head, like a lot of realizations, family secrets coming out, the boys talking with each other and processing what happened to mom. And there was a lot of feelings and a lot of stuff. And I am a very sensitive person, and I do believe that I can holding a container as much as I could for everybody here, in addition to having my own container kind of like already too full. I believe that there was multiple tipping points there. So,
A lot of triggers from
yeah.
her past because she lost her mom and then all these
Yeah.
grieving.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like you're sort of talking about like the energy that comes with the grief or the energy surrounding the grief that maybe isn't something, it's not something we can see. It's not something maybe obvious or that we even consider as being a factor or having an impact on us, but it did and it does.
yeah. And that's where I think mindfulness comes in again, is when you do have moments of absolute stillness, moments of internal reflection, that's when you can become aware of the very, very, very non-tangible idea of energetics that surround you, how your home feels, how your body home feels, what's happening inside, and do we understand why we're feeling all of these emotions and sensations and things. So really due to mindfulness that my own mindfulness practices and awareness that I was able to understand that. Not many people do.
Yeah. And it definitely is a practice, and it takes a commitment to practicing and showing up on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So then tied to that within all, I mean, yoga is such a broad term, right? And there's the 8 limbs of yoga, but there's also a lot of other practices of yoga that don't maybe fall under those specific categories. So for you, Jen, what I'm curious about is, as it relates to your grief, were there specific yoga practices that you found to be the most helpful or transformative for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because my natural inclination is to do, go, busy, work. I tend to be an object in motion all the time. And so I consciously choose to do yoga or practices that are the opposite of that, or more gentle. If they're not stillness practices, then they're like gentle and therapeutic. They're like a yoga therapy practice where, when I'm really sad, like restorative yoga with some heart opening postures with a bolster under, let's say, opening up my chest and my spine, maybe opening my hips and allowing for the sensations to move through, allowing for spaciousness to occur so that I can cry and let go of the feelings inside of my body. I really love yoga nidra. It's one of my specialties that I teach, but guided sleep-based meditation is such a beautiful way to bring down the nervous system, to allow for deep healing at a cellular level to occur, even in the brain, allowing the regeneration of healthy brain tissue. That was really, really impactful for me. And then I also practice Qigong, and I know this is not a yoga practice per se, but I do believe that there's a lot of similarities in how they move energy and working within meridian systems, which are the energetic channels, right, that link to our organs, and the organs are directly linked to our emotional health by a way of hormones and things that are secreted and processes that happen. And so Qigong became another way for me to move the energy and to get healthy energy flow to my organs, let's say my digestive system. So I definitely would practice to keep things moving and bring health. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And meditation, just general meditation, seated meditation, breathing. I would get on in the mornings. I'm usually the first one up, or I wasn't sleeping very well when I was really sick and in grief. So I would put on a meditation and just try to get through it.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing I will say is vibration, sound vibration, humming or sound like the sound bowls or the gong. The vibration I found really, really soothing and calming. So I would hum a lot or use other vibratory instruments to try to make myself feel a little bit better.
Did you just kind of accidentally discover the positive ways that all of these practices impacted you through your grief, or were you aware of that to some degree and like intentionally created your own treatment plan around grief?
I believe that's evolved over the years.
Okay.
When I was 21, I had really no idea. I was just grasping for things that made me feel better. And I wasn't meditating. I was maybe practicing a little yoga. I was using cannabis, which was definitely helpful for digestion and stomach cramping. In 2015, when I had this flare up, I was very much intentional about what I needed to do to get through this. And that's why I signed myself up for ayahuasca ceremony. I dove right into that yoga practice and yoga teacher training and was really in it every day. I was doing something to further my knowledge and my experience in yoga by doing and help me get through. And then this last time around last year, I very much had a plan. I knew I had all my tools in my toolkit to go to, but I'll tell you what was different this time. Before, I was always by myself. I didn't have another human being to witness me. I was always by myself on the bathroom floor. I had to crawl to some place to get myself up, or couldn't even think about like even trying to make myself some broth. I couldn't do it before, and I had to struggle to do it. But this time I had a human being there to witness, to help. And that was a big game changer. I do believe there were a combination of things with all of my knowledge in like meditation and yoga and nutrition, just supplements, nutrition, things I needed to eat, the diet, all of this stuff like really started to come to a head. And then we plopped this beautiful person into the mix. And now I have somebody that's, hey, do you need help? I got you. Like, you've got this. You can get through this. And I'm bargaining for death, like, no, it's going to be okay. And it's just simple, but he was
Yeah.
part of the treatment plan that was different. So,
Yeah.
It was
And
very
yeah.
having that connection with it, although you're still uncomfortable, right? But having another being there that can be huge.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. So, yeah, I knew what I had to do. I knew all the things I had to do to try to make myself better. And that in combination with actually life-changing new or supplement, like this is not a biologic or a medication that I was on before. It was a supplement. I was able to get myself back into remission within months rather than a year.
Yeah.
Always taken me. So maybe all of these things, all these practices, this person and the help with the supplements was the thing. Stay in remission.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for both of you and both of your stories and experiences, in various ways, you've talked about a mindfulness practice as being something that's been big in helping you learn how to navigate the experiences themselves, but also the emotions, the energy, even the physical symptoms that come afterwards. So, do you have any thoughts on if the situations wouldn't change? So, what happened, and the people who you love who died still died. But if you didn't have mindfulness as a tool, how would your road maybe have looked different?
Personally, I know mine would be there would be zero, I'd still be a victim. I would still be searching for someone to help me validate that I'm a victim. And there's zero growth in that. I would still be stuck. I'd still be stuck. I know I would be. And then it would balance off or get flinged on to my kids, that type of unhealthy reaction or that healthy imbalance of how to control your emotions better. And when I started practicing those things, it actually started moving on to my children. My oldest especially started becoming more calm. And then little by little, they eating better and doing better. So I think that they would also still be very stuck. And I think that that's a huge thing to point out, that I didn't just heal something inside of me. I healed really something inside of my beautiful children. I think it's a quantum entanglement because there's no other way to explain the changes in them by me doing changes in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and that's really cool. And there's an even bigger ripple effect to that than right now, and that you can see.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, remind me the
What's
question.
the question? If you hadn't have had the tool of mindfulness in all the ways it showed up for you, how might your path after grief or with grief have looked different?
I don't know if I would have made it. I don't know if I would have made it through these times where the pain was so excruciating. The grief trapped in my physical body, the anger trapped in my physical body was so excruciating that if I didn't have the tools to say to myself, just breathe, this will pass. This is not reality. Like it's temporary. If I didn't have that, maybe I would have taken my own life. And that's terrible to say, but when you're in those points of just excruciating pain and feeling like it's never going to end, sometimes those intrusive thoughts come in. And
Yeah.
I've been there too, but always coming back to, the reason why you're here, your family, your friends, your path, your purpose here, my dogs, those little things like just that keep you here and keep you anchored.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys both so much for sharing your story. Is there anything though that is still unsaid that you want the chance to say?
I love you, Jenny.
I love you too.
You guys are cute.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was a beautiful opportunity to share. And I just have to say that I'm impressed that the more you talk about it, the more you are able to
Get through it.
get through it. I've seen the emotional processing for him as well over the last couple of years. And even his boys, I'm really, really, really impressed with their own level of processing. And I know that they're all going to be okay.
Amen.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I really liked having this conversation with the two of you. So thank you very much for showing up, for being willing, for talking about stuff that we don't often talk about, and for sharing your people with us. I appreciate that.
If it can help one other person, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So thanks for the platform to share our story.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Laura, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for being here with me, Laura Walton, and my incredible guest on Grief on Purpose. Your presence is a gift, and I'm so grateful you're walking this path with us. For more connection and resources, you'll find everything you need in the show description. To my guests, thank you for sharing your person with us today. It is truly an honor to know your story. I'm your host, Laura Walton. Until next time, be kind to yourself and remember you're not alone in your grief. We are here on purpose.